You guys, I finally met someone, and I don't know where this is going or anything, but after 7.5 years of being single, never meeting anyone, trying to always figure out how to find total pleasure in my life without having a man or a relationship, and questioning if there was something wrong with me for not having met anyone. All the stuff I went through, I've made videos about it for years on my other channels. Um, Someone landed in my lap. That's all I can say. This really great guy landed in my lap. And first of all, even though I only met him a week ago, I just wanted to share that with you guys because it just feels very different. And also, I've been thinking about if there was something I did that maybe made it more possible. So I want to talk about all of that with you guys today. At the same time, I have been reluctant to make this video because I spent a lot of time in pain over being alone, not having a guy, or the things I wanted from a guy, and I don't want to like quote or make people who don't have it feel bad or feel jealous or something, because that's how I would often feel. If someone had someone, I would feel jealous. But I know now that um, well, I know intellectually that. Anyway, let me just start. I'm Charzot Morgan. I'm an escort for 5 years, and I used to be a stay-at-home mom. I was married 25 years to a great guy. I've got great kids. I'm also a life coach. I live in San Diego. I have my bachelor's degree in computer science. I used to be a software testing manager back in the late 80s. It's been a while. And I used to be a realtor during the housing bubble, and I was telling everyone the prices are going to plunge, you shouldn't be buying, and they would want to buy anyway. So I'm from Germany. I speak German, Farsi, English. So this just tells you a little bit about me, my diversity, my experience. And I'm petite. I'm only 5'3". So when people meet me, they're always surprised how little I am. And I'm into fitness and transcendental meditation. And I have a great family, although they're not perfect. Okay, if you want to know more about me, I wrote a book called What I Did for Sex, and the first version of it called The Fuck List, after my divorce 7 years ago. The reason I left my husband was so I could be more and feel more. We, when the kid, we got married, I think we did love each other, but we had certain roles that we wanted to fulfill, like a husband and wife and having a family. And there were things about us or things we want in relationships that were different from the very beginning, but those things weren't so important when we were on the track of like raising our children. And those things had to do with my interest in personal development and sexuality, and he wasn't. And he was more interested in other things, which I won't give you his interest. They don't matter, but they're equally cool interests. And he's happily remarried. I think happier than he was with me. So on that, I just want to say that if you're going through a divorce or your relationship is ending, that doesn't mean you're a failure, because it's not a failure when a caterpillar turns into a butterfly. We're incorrectly taught that relationships have to last forever. They really don't, and sometimes people have to leave each other so they can keep growing. If I had stayed married, I would have never faced the challenges and the growth and everything I've done in my life since then. You guys wouldn't even know about me. And I've grown so much from it. I've grown from the pain and the opportunities. So, and just like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, um, it's not a bad thing when a caterpillar dies and becomes a butterfly, so to speak, or transforms, but it's also fucking difficult. The caterpillar has to really struggle, and I also had to struggle a lot. I feel like the hardest years of my life were the last 3 years before I got divorced. And the greatest pain I've ever felt all had to do with men. The greatest pains I've ever felt all had to do with men. Not because they abused me, but because I had a history of going for men who were unavailable to me. I didn't know I was going to cry making this video, but I'm just remembering, like, I guess feeling a lot of that pain. And that pain may also come back to my childhood because so, sorry you guys, I didn't know I was going to cry. The pain probably, I'm not crying to get pity. I'm legitimately crying because I'm realizing things. Just feelings are coming up. So I'm okay. So if you're watching this and see me cry, the best thing you can do when someone cries, your job is to listen. That's all you have to do. You don't have to make me feel better or tell me what to do or feel sorry for me. I am totally fine and, in control of myself, and I'm sharing what's legitimately coming up for me. Is I'm sharing with you something that I'm going through because it feels good to share, and maybe you can also learn something. Okay. I have a history of going for men they're nice, they have jobs, they're good, they don't lie to me, they're not, I don't attract guys who are alcoholics or who are abusive or who are cheaters. I attract guys who are like monogamous, nice guys who are emotionally unavailable. That was my pain point. And it goes back to from when I was a little girl. I remember liking guys that would ignore me, and then I would keep thinking about them and longing for them in my heart. The first boy was when I was 5. The second boy was when I was in 3rd grade. This little blonde-haired guy with all these freckles. I just loved his freckles. He didn't even know I existed. And then I would have a history sometimes of pursuing them. But that wasn't that much. I would just long for them. And then my first huge crush when I was 14, he was 21. He was a guy I met at Maharishi University in Fairfield, Iowa, because I was on a meditation course and so was he. I cried about that guy for months, maybe even years, and I only met him once. But I felt this longing for him, and we wrote each other a few letters, but we lived far away, and he's probably thinking, what am I going to do with this 14-year-old girl? I had a boyfriend when I was 17. He was 21. He was a good guy, but I didn't have feelings for him, but I liked that he had his own place, and, he was cool. Like, anyway, I didn't have that many boyfriends before I met my husband. He was a cool guy. I don't want to ramble. After my divorce is when things got really rocky for me, because I was, wait, let me back up. The last 2 years of my marriage were very painful, like I said, because the things that I wanted in a relationship, like this intimacy and great sex, that I had been a little bit afraid of when I was younger, I was now ready for. I attribute this to having been a mother. My heart had been opened, and I was no longer so afraid of intimacy and closeness. And I had developed a lot more respect and trust in my marriage. I felt very secure, and he was the father of my children. I knew he would never leave me. He would always love me, and he still does love me. Like, he's just a good guy, and I just wanted that intimacy and closeness with him, and he didn't really want it. it scared him. I want to say that it scared him. I don't know if it was just his resentments against me. I think the intimacy really scared him. And, we all have the points at which we're not willing to go any further. And it was also the universe letting us know it was time to separate. And I don't think we would have ever separated if it hadn't been for that. Then I went on a fuck-capade. I was anxious to explore my sexuality, so I started having sex with all these lesbians. And then I went on a 2-year spree of hooking up with guys 18 to 24, pretty much. And I didn't realize, I thought they would be mature, like my sons who were that age are really mature, but they would just have sex with me and then disappear, like they would ghost me. And I got attached to a few of them. I even got attached to one of the women, and I cried over them. I really, really was in a lot of pain, and I didn't know how to get out of it. I didn't know how to get out of it. I wanted to keep having sex. Guys would ghost me. I kept having to find new guys. And then sometimes I would cry over them. And my sister said, "Why are you having sex with all these guys? You're just crying over them. Why don't you get into a relationship?" Well, I didn't meet anyone for a relationship. I just thought, well, if one of these guys I'm fucking, if we hit it off, we'll just start dating. And that does happen. Never happened to me. And maybe it's because these guys were younger. I was having difficulty feeling attracted to men my age. I think I liked, and at this time after my divorce too, all my friends were so much younger. They were in their 20s. I was really resonating with people in their 20s. My coaches were in their 20s, like people I went to for support, for training, for coaching. And it seemed like they were more full of aliveness and vitality and not so stuck in their ways. I felt like my life married was in a very comfort zone, very comfortable, and not full of a lot of change. I mean, yeah, I changed jobs or something, but I felt like imprisoned in a way. I felt imprisoned in my relationship, in my marriage. I felt imprisoned. And I did that to myself. I'm not saying he did that. I did that. I just felt imprisoned, and I felt older people were imprisoned because it's so easy to go through life and get stuck in a rut. I felt like they were in a rut. By the way, I've met some older people who are just really shaking stuff up too. But I think a lot of them are in a rut. Maybe physically they're not full of aliveness, or they're not changing stuff up in their lives all the time. And I didn't want a guy with a house full of stuff and a garage full of stuff. I was like making my own way in the world. I was just starting my career over. It would be the first time that I was supporting myself in years, in 30 years. And I really wanted to be with younger guys who also had nothing and were just starting out. I felt like I was career-wise and energy-wise, as far as like feeling passionate about what was possible, in my 20s. And I liked their bodies. But what I didn't know is how immature they would be. I didn't know. Anyway, I got my heart broken a lot. I cried over them a lot. And I thought, well, what am I going to do? I want to keep having sex. And so I'm going to figure out how to have sex without getting so attached. I got to figure out how to have sex and not get so attached. So the way I did that, I thought, well, I will just have to close down my heart. And I just remember that now. I will have to just close down my heart. But then I also thought, I can't do that because I was doing a lot of personal development stuff. I was all about opening my heart. And I had left my husband to be more and feel more. And I didn't want to close my heart. I wanted to open it. Excuse me for a moment. I have to grab a Kleenex. All right, thanks. So I gave myself the challenge of opening my heart, having sex with guys, and not getting attached. And to challenge myself even more, I decided that it would be great. And I was starting to hook up with a lot of Marines. Oh my God, there was this drill instructor I really liked. I call him a trophy fuck. Is that bad? but I did like him. Really liked this guy. And I cried over him too. Anyway, I decided that to really challenge my heart and help myself grow, why don't I start dating a Marine who's gone half the year? So that way I could learn to be happy while he's gone and learn to deal with my longing. And I started listening to my dialogue, internal dialogue. I'm like, something seems off here. And then I also had this mindset of I would go after guys who were not that interested in me. I started going after men maybe more in their 30s or 40s, a little bit older. And I thought, I can make you like me. And I had this feeling of being like daddy's little girl, like daddy's working, but I can distract him. I'm like, something's not right here. And one of my friends in her 20s said, why do you keep going after emotionally unavailable men? I got super triggered. And that's when I knew she had hit on something. That's the first time I realized that's what I was doing. But I argued with her. I said, no. They might be unavailable, but I'm going to make them available. I know they can be available. So what you can see in that is that I was interested in men. I was more interested in men than they were interested in me. I was trying to force myself to be open when I shouldn't have had to be open. Anyway, as an escort, I don't cry over guys. It's completely different. As an escort, I've never fallen for a client. I have tried to date clients and developed a little bit of feelings for them, but not as many feelings as I developed for these other guys. And the last time I fell for a client was years ago. I don't do that anymore. I've developed a completely different frame of reference and mindset and expectations around my dating. And that's why I want to make this video, to kind of tell you my growth of where I was to where I was going. So I initially thought I wanted to start with sex because I was afraid that I would end up with another guy who wasn't good in bed or didn't like sex. And I also kind of would go for these emotionally unavailable men, which left me feeling because of the men I chose. See, when in my marriage I was securely attached. Even though he was a little bit emotionally unavailable, he was available. He loved me and he supported me and he was there. When I say he was emotionally unavailable, I mean more in the bedroom, like more on a deeper level. But these guys I would go for were completely unavailable even for dating. Like, it's almost like the universe amplified. It's almost like the universe had to amplify it so much for me to fucking see it. I don't know. Maybe that's not it. But that's definitely what happened. It was really amplified because I was crying over guys who had never even taken me out on a date. They hadn't even invested that in me. And a lot of that was because I was just looking for sex. But I was always hoping that it would turn into something more, because when I had sex with these guys and they were so affectionate with me, I would really start liking them. Like, I didn't like them before the sex. I was like, oh, this guy's cute. But if they were really good in bed with me and really passionate and affectionate, I would just fall for them. I would replay the scene. I would want them to come back. They usually wouldn't. And that's what I mean, fall for them. So at the same time, I had another issue. So I was always wanting to start with sex. I would go for men who were unavailable. And, oh God, I forgot what my other problem was. I was still angry with my ex-husband over how I felt I had been wronged. And I couldn't let that go. And I was reading all these books. I was trying all my coaching practices on myself, because a couple years ago I became a life coach, invested a bunch of money in learning how to be a coach, which wasn't really that helpful, the marketing stuff. But and put together like a bunch of stuff that I use with my coaching clients, and I was using these on myself, and none of this helped. I was still angry with him. I couldn't forgive him, and I wanted to feel something in my heart. All I could feel really was, you know, like this should have worked out, or like, not that I wanted him back, but I kept reliving kind of the pain of how it felt when I couldn't express myself with him emotionally and sexually because he didn't want it. Not that I felt rejected, it was painful to not be able to express it and have it back. And I started realizing as I was watching more videos on YouTube and Instagram, learning more about coaching and attachment styles and this and that, that I was probably reliving a lot of my childhood wounds against my parents, which had been so repressed to the point that I don't even remember loving my parents when I was little. I don't even remember that because it's so repressed, and I didn't want to even feel it because I was too angry with my dad to even want to feel. I was afraid to feel that I ever even loved him when I was little. Anyway, I started unlocking a bunch of things. I came across John Gray, who I dismissed years ago as being nuts for saying men and women are different, because I didn't want to think men and women were different. I thought we were very much the same. And so I was really acting like a man. This is why a lot of these didn't work out. I was acting like a man by starting with sex and by not being like having standards and expecting them to give to me. I didn't know any of this. My parents, I never saw them kiss. I think I saw them kiss once. And I came across his videos on YouTube, and then I started about 2 months ago, I want to say. I binge bought his books. I binge read his books. On my last channel, I made a bunch of videos about what I learned, and that's why I was so sad the channel got taken down. I made a really great video summarizing Mars and Venus on a Date. This book helped me so much. And then this is what helped me get over being angry with my ex. He has a really great exercise in this book that took me an hour to do, and my anger, it's gone. Mars and Venus starting over. This just happened like 2 or 3 weeks ago. That was finally gone with the anger at my ex-husband. And then after that, a bunch of stuff started happening where all these tangled emotions came out, and I had a week of being in a way I hadn't been in like ever, and that I could remember. My friends had never seen me, where I was just like really angry and irritable. I didn't know what had happened, but I think I was just releasing a lot of emotions. Anyway, I went through all of that, but this Mars and Venus on a Date is all about how women have to be in a receiving mode and how relationships should start out. And I started doing everything he said. I went on Zoosk, and I went in there in a receiving mindset, and I didn't have a long list of things that guys had to be like or how they had to look like. I just wanted a guy who was professional with children, living in San Diego, who wanted to take me to dinner. And I was just in a receiving mode, and I was nice to all the men who contacted me, and I was coming from a very nice space, and I was appreciating of them instead of being so critical, what was wrong with them. And I started being like, okay, how does it feel how this guy talks to me? How do I feel around him? And not to chase any guys. It changed my mindset. And that's the exact mindset and feeling space I was in when I met this young man the other night. I say young man because he's younger than me, quite a bit younger, but not in his 20s. And that's the space I was in. And I've used a lot of the stuff in this book since then, in knowing how to even navigate the first week with him. I've used a lot of the stuff, and I attribute the knowledge from this book for me having this great experience that I'm having with this guy, with this man. I attribute this book to it. So any of you who are single, I highly recommend this book. I'm going to make more videos about it, but on this new channel, I can't make videos longer than 25 minutes. I think I've talked enough. I'm going to make another video about this book, and I also want to update you guys on what I'm doing with my training and with my coaches and other areas in my life, and how I've been dealing with things when I get triggered around this man, when he doesn't text me back in this, and how I'm dealing with it, because that stuff still comes up for me. But I just wanted to share with you my gratitude for what's been happening in my life lately. And thanks for watching my channel. If you like my videos, please subscribe. I am going to be making more escort diaries videos. So I'm going to make one about the clitoris. I'm going to do one about pegging. And yeah, just email me too if you have other topics. And if you'd like to work with me, I'm a life coach. All my links are in the description below this video. So you can follow me on Twitter, you can buy my books, you can hire me for life coaching, or you can email me if you think that you might want to meet me when you're in San Diego. But my last channel got taken down for me asking people to make appointments with me, so I'm not going to do that again. You can figure that out for yourself. Yes, I'm an escort. Yes, I'm accepting new clients. And yes, I'm a life coach. And yes, I was a UCSB mom, but my son has now graduated. He's getting ready to go to medical school. Anyway, thanks for watching my video.